Hey YouTube, so I am actually driving the 2017 Dodge Charger RT. This is the one that I promised would be on the channel eventually when it's decided that the car would stay. So obviously, since it's going on the channel, it's staying. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started on a little bit. We're gonna go ahead and do a review / impression, but I'm trying not to compare it too much to the SRT 392, but there are some things that will be addressed with both. Oh, this girl just crashed her car. Nice. Well, watch your own lane, bro. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So this car definitely drives really nice. I do actually really enjoy it. This is the 5.7 liter V8 engine that puts out about 370 horsepower and 395 pound-foot of torque. So it definitely gets up and goes. However, it's obviously not as fast as the SRT 392. So you will have to keep that in mind, but overall it does actually sound really nice and it still takes off pretty nicely. This one is paired also with the 8-speed automatic transmission. So although they both have 8 speeds, they definitely do actually tend to drive a little bit differently. This one is actually not as eager to get into 8th as the other one is. This one actually will not go into 8th gear until about 65 miles an hour. So with that being said, you know, that's a pretty big difference if you ask me, whereas the other one was in 8th gear by like 40. So, I mean, there's slight differences here and there, but they both still drive really nicely. Interior-wise, they're relatively similar. However, there are some small differences. For example, the steering wheel is not squared off like the SRT 392, and the gauges are a little bit different as well regarding their font. It does have a little bit of a bigger font, and the speedometer only goes to 160 versus 180 miles an hour. So, you know, that's a little bit different in regards to the comparison between the RT and SRT 392. Also, in this particular car, the seats are cloth instead of leather. And you will notice that they are a little bit less bucket-y, quote-unquote. They're not as comfortable, to me at least, but to some people it doesn't really matter. But to me, they do lack a little bit of thigh support, and also too, they can get a little bit uncomfortable on your back. They do feel a little overstuffed, but it's not awful. I mean, I don't have back problems, and I'm not lazy, so I can deal with that shit. But as you can see, it does take off pretty nicely, and it has a pretty good exhaust note. That's accelerating a little bit harder, but as you can see, it's not as fast as the 392, but that 8-speed automatic transmission definitely is a good pair with the engine choice. Also, you will see that I do have 4-cylinder mode on. That will deactivate 4 cylinders on this car to obviously increase fuel economy. So I mean, it's a good thing to have. It's not really awful, but you're still not going to be, you still can't compare it to a 4-cylinder engine, just due to the fact that, you know, every time you accelerate, you will be activating all 8 cylinders. So I mean, you're going to be saving some fuel, but it's not going to be a crazy amount, unless if you drive a lot of highway to work and so on and so forth. But yeah, it actually does drive really nicely. I do enjoy it. Actually, I kind of enjoy it almost a little bit better than the SRT 392. It's got a little bit more of a relaxed feel. The suspension is still pretty stiff on this car, but it's not as stiff as the SRT 392. Now, obviously, if I were to change it to track mode, it would stiffen up. However, this car kind of is like the in-between point between muscle and family. And I mean, I don't want to say that to be like derogatory towards Dodge, but this car to me actually seems more practical on a trip than the other one, just due to the fact that this one's got more of a relaxed feel, whereas the other one is just ready to take off like an airplane. So I mean, that's the point. That's the point of the SRT 392 though, is that it wants to take off because that's the purpose that people buy it for, to drive fast. And also too, they look nice. But you know, the SRT 392 is more or less like that muscle car. It wants to take off and get ready to go. Bam, I'm gonna beat the guy at the light next to me, you know what I'm saying? Whereas this car is kind of like that in-between point. So it does drive really nicely, again, like I said, but it is a little bit more relaxed than the other one. So, I mean, you know, with that being said, there are some subtle differences, and you will notice also the power delivery is a little bit different as well. Now, less power though, it also makes the car feel more stable. The reason being is that when I come off of a turn, if I were to hit the gas harder in the other one, it would definitely drift. But this one, not so much. It definitely holds its own on corners. So that's really nice. But like I said, the interiors are really nice on both. This one does have the cloth seats versus the leather. So I mean, if you do spill, it is going to suck because then you're going to have to clean, you're going to have to scrub a little bit more. But at the same time, I think the seats actually do look really nice in this car, and I love the black on black. The exterior of this car is actually, what did it say on the key? It's red something, but it is nice, but as you can see, it doesn't have that lifted portion, where the SRT392 actually has the hood has that little lifted portion on the hood, which basically means that this car doesn't need to actually displace so much heat versus the other one, which creates a lot of heat and needs somewhere to go. So, I mean, with that being said, there are some differences in these cars, but they overall both drive really, really, really nicely. This one, what's it called? The brakes are still pretty touchy, even though the SRT392's got the 6-piston calipers. They're pretty touchy in this car as well. But I mean, obviously, like I said, it doesn't actually kick in the brakes like to a screeching halt when you just feather the pedal. Like this one, you actually do have to press it down a little bit more. So I mean, overall, they're both really nice cars. I do like them. They're very great. This one, I'd have to say, is more practical if you were more or less like commuting and going on a lot of longer trips with it. But I mean, the SRT392, that car is badass. I mean, it just takes off. It's great. It's a lot of fun to drive. So I mean, if you're looking for a little bit more of a relaxed drive than the SRT392, this is definitely a good pick. The Scat Pack is nice, but this one also is really nice. So I mean, take it for what it's worth. Good cars, both of them. So, you know, this is kind of more or less an impression just to show you guys, you know, how this one drove. Not really good for people with back problems because the seats are a little bit comfortable. You know, it's like they can get a little bit uncomfortable if you are driving on a longer trip, and if you have back problems, of course, because, you know, we all get back problems eventually and want Norco for them. So with that being said, I mean, there are some setbacks with this car, like the seat comfort, the thigh support, although I'm not lazy. I can hold my legs up no problem. But, you know, some people are like, I want my thighs to be supported at all times. Okay, well, then you're going to have to get a different car. But overall, really, really great driving car. So with that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. But I will catch you later and be doing more reviews. Have a good one.